everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada, and you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's a beautiful Sunday here on the West Coast. I can't believe it's October and it's still so lovely out there. So fingers crossed, it's going to stay nice for a little while. Still a little cool, but definitely it's nice to see the sunny weather. So today I'm going to do a couple of techniques with you. I'm going to play with the traditional Christmas suite, which is, oh gosh, got to be my favorite suite from the mini catalog. It's a double suite, mega suite with 2 bundles, some absolutely stunning designer series paper, embellishments and ribbon, and an embossing folder, the Christmas or traditional wreath embossing folder. Love this suite. And if you love it too, Stampin' Up's doing something new. They're offering a virtual classes, and the first class I believe is coming up on October 23rd. You can purchase the class in my online store. So they've never done this before, at least with Stampin' Up product. And so you can purchase the class. I can't remember how many projects. I think there are like 4, maybe 4 projects that they're doing. And I might have not that wrong. The cost in Canada is, I think, $41, $41 or $44. Includes the virtual class. You provide all of the products. So if you've already got this traditional Christmas suite, then you're set for this. All you have to do is order the virtual class through my online store. And if you can't make it when they do it on the day, you can watch it at your leisure. They are going to provide the link to the recording. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to be away during that class, but I've decided I'm going to sign up anyway. Hey Sharon, oh gosh, windy and cool in North Dakota. Hey Bonnie, welcome. All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to do 2 different techniques with this. I'm do paper piecing because I love to do paper piecing, and I'm going to do some watercolor with this just to make hopefully what will be a very pretty card. All right, let's switch over. So these are the 2 bundles. This Christmas greenery is the kind of the imagery. It's 2-step stamping, and so you have this lovely kind of wreath. Well, it's not a wreath. I don't know what that's called. Anyway, arrangement of flowers, and then this bouquet, and then the stamps that you can actually do the insides of some of these images. And then all of the sentiments, oh, actually there are dies. Let me show you the dies. So you can cut out, these images are much smaller than what they actually are. They're at 85%. And so the dies are bigger. So you can cut out that arrangement as well as the bouquet. And then you've got a bunch of standalone dies as well. And then look at these traditional labels. I love the fact that we have a whole bunch of really lovely labels to use. These are I use them all the time, not just for making projects with this suite. So great labels, as well as this one that I'm using today. And then all of the sentiments that you can mix and match that go with this. I love this. Okay, so that's the 2 bundles that are in the suite. And then I don't have all of the designer series paper. I want to knock those out. I've got one little piece here of the designer series paper. That's one side, and this is the side I'm using to do my paper piecing. So I'm going to stamp on this and then cut it out. So let's get started. The first thing I am going to do is actually do my watercoloring. So I've got a, oh, there it is. Oh, lost my paper trimmer. I've got basic black, kind of a weird color for a Christmas card, but it just makes the real red pop. So my piece is 5.5 by 8.5, and we're scoring it at 4 1/4. So we'll get some of this put together or started. Oopsie, find my bone folder. Fold into the mountain. There we go. See the edge and burnish it. Okay, so then I've got a piece of real red that I cut 3 3/4 by 5, and I've got a piece of watercolor, so fluid 100 watercolor, which is 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to create my background. It's actually going to go this way on it. Okay. So that's for the background, and then I've got another piece of watercolor paper. Hey Pam, welcome. That I'm going to do my stamping and paper piecing on. So let's actually get started. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, and I'm going to do kind of a wash. So I've got Petal Pink here, which is going to be my background, so the wash that I'm doing. And I already went ahead, if you've never done this, if you just take and kind of get your palms in and press down, you can get some ink on the inside. And now let's get this. I've just filled. It's exciting that the new watercolor, the water painters are back in stock. I was worried we weren't going to have them. Stampin' Up! Actually said that they were looking for a new supplier for the water painters. So they came back into stock. Now, I don't have a spritzer here that I've got water in. I've only got one for alcohol, so I'm using just my water. So I'm just going to spritz. I don't want this terribly wet, but I'm going to spritz that with water. And then I'm just kind of making a pool. And I'm just going to kind of make a wash of pink over this. This is going to be my background. Now, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of red into this. Oof, this might be a mistake. So I've done the same with my real red. And you could just kind of, oh, that's really, there we go. So I've got my background. Oh, God. Motorcycles, my goodness, motorcycles going outside my window. We'll just leave those there. And I'm going to leave this to dry. This is going to be my background. We'll leave it to dry. I'm probably going to have to bring in my heat tool. But for the moment, we'll just leave that to sit and dry while I'm kind of working away. And I just take a baby wipe or a paper towel and just kind of keep squeezing it and getting water and cleaning it until it, for the most part, runs clear. Just to clean up my water painter. Okay. So now we're going to do some paper piecing and some coloring, watercoloring of the background. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stamp this, but I'm going to stamp it using Versamark. My hesitation, I changed my mind at the last minute, so of course that just never fails with me. Okay, so I've got this image and I'm going to ink it up using Versamark. The reason I'm using Versamark and I'm going to use the black embossing powder is because when you're watercoloring an image, the embossing, the heat embossed edges kind of make it so that the water, the paint, the ink that you're coloring with doesn't get all over the place, and so it's kind of works like a bit of a barrier for your watercolor. Isn't that striking? I just love that. Okay, let's see. There we go. Now I'm just going to take and use my heat tool. This is going to be a bit of a, I don't know, a few step process. While I've got my heat tool out, I'm going to dry my watercolor background. You see me doing that? I'm doing this, doing what I tell you not to do. So when you're heat embossing, you just want to hold it over the image until it starts to melt, and then you can start moving it across. So that the whole image, it does take a little bit because this is fairly big and there's a lot of little lines on this image, so you want to make sure you've got it all melted. I'm just going to try and, okay, I think I've got it. Now while I've got my heat tool, I'm just going to take and just dry my, this is okay to do this kind of motion. All right, we'll let that sit for a minute. It's going to take a minute or two longer to dry. But while we've got this, let's do some more heat embossing or watercoloring. Now I've got my two smaller watercolor pencils or water painters, and let's just kind of get some more ink. This I definitely, for these flowers, I'm going to do a bit of a combination of the petal pink and the real red. So I'm going to start and add some water again, just to make it. And then I'm just going to color inside these tiny little flowers. And I've got a fair amount of water here, probably more than I need, but it does act as a bit of a barricade so that the water doesn't seep out all over the place. And if it does, it's okay, because it looks like a watercolor painting. That's my theory. Okay, there we go. So there's some pink. And let's just bring in, I just want a touch of red. Just to give it a bit of an interest here in the middle. And it's enough water that it's going to kind of spread out a little bit. There. So a little bit of interest on my pink flowers. I'm going to leave that sitting up and down like that because I don't want it to leak. Okay, so I'm not going to I'm not going to do watercolor for my the leaves, or am I? Am I going to do water? Maybe I am. All right, let's do this. So this is Old Olive. I'll go all out with watercolor here. And again, I want these. Just going to add just a touch of color into those. Into the leaves. The middle part of this, the big flower, the big poinsettia in the middle, I'm going to do the paper piecing for. And I'm not really taking my time. I'm just adding some color to the leaves. If you wanted to, you could add some color to those boughs. But I have just kind of got, there we go, you can see that a little bit better. So that's going to take a minute to dry, and while that's drying, along with my background, let's do some paper piecing. So I've got a piece, this is one of these gorgeous pieces of the designer series paper, and I'm going to use this red and pink polka dots that's on the back of it. And I'm stamping using Tuxedo Black Memento. So I'm just going to take, there is an image for the center of this flower. And you know what? This is going to make it really dark, and I don't want that. So we're not going to use that one. We are going to use this one. This is the outline. No, yeah, that's what I want. I only want the center of my flower. So I want to stamp that image so that I can actually take and cut it out. There we go. And now take your paper snips. So I'm going to bring in the stamp case, because this is a bit of a weird shape to cut out. So you can see this flower, kind of these leaves of the poinsettia are underneath this flower. So you can actually use a die to cut this out if you wanted to, which maybe I will, and then I will trim it a little bit smaller if I could find the die. No, I don't have the die. No, I can't use the die. So we're just going to take and cut. So you have to be a little careful as you're cutting this, because you've got some of the petals from the smaller flowers that are kind of overlapping. So you can just take your time and kind of follow around, and where you run into one of these flowers, just kind of cut around on the line. Paper piecing, I love the look of paper piecing. Sometimes you have to watch what kind of stamps you use, so you always stamp the image and then cut it out. Stamp it on typically designer series paper, and then you cut it out. And so just go really slowly and cut along the lines. If you got a really detailed one, I think I've told this story. One time I did a turtle. It was such a cute little turtle, but oh my gosh, how detailed it was that I should have thought about that before I actually paper pieced. Okay, so now I'm coming up against these flowers, and so just kind of go around. You're going around the point of that flower petal. All right, and then this goes like this, up like this. So when you're doing your two-step stamping, the image for this poinsettia that you stamp is very odd looking, and it's because you've got all of these little juts where the petals of the flowers kind of overlap it. It took me a minute to try and figure out why it was kind of looking like that. There. Oopsie, there. So, as I said, it's a bit of a weird looking shape because of those overlapping flowers. But it does make sense once you actually have it. Okay, so I think this is dry enough. So when you lay this on, you have to do just a little bit of kind of moving it around until you find the sections where it fits in, and you can see these little sections, oh that's blurred, little sections jut out where this flower overlaps. So you can take, and if you wanted to, you could pop that up. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue. And I'm just want to make sure I get glue up into these little points. Okay, so then this, again, find where it, and I think I managed to I cut off a little tiny piece of my flower, of my petal, right, or my poinsettia. So I'm going to just stamp this again and just cut that little piece that I seem to have missed. I think it's right there. So if you do what I did, where I actually cut one of my little petals off right here, you can just take and restamp or stamp again on another piece of the designer series paper and cut out that piece that you cut off by mistake, which is going to go right like this when I get the rest of it cut off. And I'm gonna just take and put hopefully just a little bit of glue. And if you need to, grab your tweezers to just push that down in place, and you'll never know that you actually cut off. Oh my gosh, Connie, frosty roads this morning. It's definitely cool here in the mornings, but no, we're not, we don't have the frosty roads, thankfully. Okay, now I am going to take this, and probably what I should have done is waited until I had this cut out, but I think it'll be all right. I'm going to just take that, oopsie, a little bit of Post-it note tape, and I'm going to run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss along with my sentiment piece. So let's just bring in, I think this will go through the mini, one at a time. So this is my label. So the two kind of banners put together. Connie, you have to try paper piecing. I challenge you. Yeah, it's fun to do. Just look for images that aren't too overly complicated and too many little bits, especially for your first one, and you will be fine. So I could have cut this out first before I paper pieced, but I should be all right. Okay. So there's my pretty flower image. And now I've got my label. So we're going to take and stamp. I pulled the sentiment that says sending love and joy. So we're going to take just the tuxedo black memento and stamp. There we go. And the black looks good. Okay, so I think we're ready to start putting our card together. This is pretty dry, my watercolor. Now, it does curl a little bit, and so you can take your heat tool and kind of heat it from the back and bend it back, but I like to use tear and tape. It just, because you've got this, long pieces of the tear and tape, it will keep those edges down that have curled up when you were from the water, and also from when you were using your heat tool. I'm completely, there we go. Hey Therese, welcome. Sorry I missed the comments on Facebook. So I went looking for, because you do want to find a kind of not too busy a piece of the designer series paper that you're going to stamp on, and so this polka dot was good. I was looking for some pink as well, because I was thinking I was going to paper piece these flowers too, but there wasn't a pink one, so something like that. Okay. So we'll pop this up. I think I'm going to add one more there. I want to make sure this lays down. All right, I'm going to put that kind of just at a bit of an angle. And then this can go just like that. we go. And then some glue. So we're going to add some Wink of Stella to this too, because I think the flowers need to be a bit shimmery. Now, if you wanted to make the outline of the flower really pop, I could have heat embossed it as well. That would have just made it look even better. Looking for my Wink of Stella. There we go. So I'm just going to take and go over my watercolored flowers with Wink of Stella. If you've never tried watercoloring with Wink of Stella, you should try that. You can just take some Wink of Stella on your silicone mat and mix some of the reinker color into it, and you get this beautiful, very shimmery ink watercolor that you can use to color. Okay, we need some embellishments, and somewhere I have these are called Traditional Sparkling Sequence, and they come in real red, I think it's Granny Apple Green, Pull Party, and Gold. And so, let's see. Do I want to use gold? I think I'll use real red. So we're just going to take 3 different sizes. So these are really flat. Don't cost any more for mailing. If you're in Canada, hopefully we'll get Postal Service back soon, because we don't at the moment. And then I cut a piece of the Designer Series paper. Before I do anything, I touch something with Wink of Stella on it, and so I want to wipe my hand. There we go. Yeah, so hopefully our Postal Service comes back soon. But this won't cost any more to mail because they're flat sequins. Yes. Hopefully we're not going to have 2 Christmases in a row where we can't send cards. Okay, so that's a piece 3/4 of an inch by 4. It's a little longer than I need. So I'm just going to take and trim that off. Put my lid on my glue. And then this can just go on the inside of the card. Yeah, I think that's a really pretty card. If I was to make this card again, I would heat emboss the image when I stamped it onto the Designer Series paper. I think it would just show a little bit more that that's the flower image. But I kind of like it the way it is too. So I love to do some watercolor. It's so easy to do, just to create a really easy background using watercolor. And if you haven't played with the water painters, you really want to try them, because they're so much fun. And I'm so happy that they have come back. I actually just want to show you one thing. When you get the water painters and you want to fill them, they are made, I believe, in Japan. And so they unscrew opposite to what we're used to in North America. So if you're trying to get them open, because we would unscrew them the opposite way. I think they are. Maybe they fixed them. Yeah, they screw on opposite. So they screw on counterclockwise, and we would typically screw them on clockwise. So if you're wondering what's going on, it's not you. I believe they're made in Japan, which is why they screw on opposite to what we're used to. All right, everybody, now I'm not going to be live for a little bit. I'm going away on a weaving retreat that I'm really excited about. And so I will be live again on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. So come join me then. Again, don't forget, there's an amazing join special going on at the moment. So if you aren't a demonstrator and you've ever thought you might like to, or you just want to get some great product for a really, oh my gosh, smoking hot deal, you want to check that out. Whatever your market you're in, there is a join special going on. But if you're interested, and I have an amazing team that I would love to have you be part of in Canada. Also, don't forget about the virtual classes that you can purchase through my online store. And the first one Stampin' Up! Is offering is related to this Traditions of Christmas. So if you've already got this suite, then you're all set for the great projects that are going to be made in this class. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me, and we will see